Hello guys, Lit here. So this is the final update for the Reliquarian Cyclone, and so far the build has performed really good. I'm really happy with it. It's very fun to use it on maps especially. The Volcanic Fissure just go all over the place, and the Void Shockwave, the AoE is really nice. So for mapping, this card just feels really good. And for that reasons, I decided to go for the Headhunter route instead of the Mage Blood, because Headhunter is just way better for mapping, and it's a lot cheaper than Mage Blood. And you still can go for the Mage Blood, for example, like if you want to do some bossing, although I will say this character is not quite a uber bosser, because the build that I put in the category of uber bosses is either they have a really high DPS, I think you need something like 300-400 mil, to able to take down Uber in a few seconds, or you can so tanky you can do Uber with your eyes closed. And this character just not feel neither of the category. We have good enough DPS, like for Mage Blood Fortune you have like 100 to 120 mil, we can push around that much. And 100 mil DPS, you can take down Uber pretty fast, but it's not quite few seconds fast. And as for the other category, this character can take few hits, but definitely not face tanking everything. Especially like Saber Balls, you're not going to face tank them. You can take 1 or 2 balls, but you're definitely not going to face tank the balls. And it's not saying that you cannot do Uber. I done all the Uber bosses. I done all the invitation and all that stuff. I have my full point, but I just don't think this character is the best at bossing. As for the mapping, it's not quite KB clear because of the movement speed, but in terms of like coverage, damage, and everything, this character definitely can compete with KB. And the only thing that I think we kind of have trouble competing with KB or like Deadeye Bow is just a movement speed because of they are Deadeye. It's just they have inherently more movement speed because they are Deadeye. I guess we can get like Tailwind on boots and stuff, but I just don't think in terms of like speed, Deadeye is just a lot better. The Tailwind is just you're always going to have them. With Headhunter or without Headhunter, you're going to always move fast. While on this one, we do have quite a lot of movement speed, but not quite on the Deadeye level. And that's probably the only weakness I will say for mapping. Other than that, this character is just really good. Defensive wise, offensive wise, if you're talking about mapping with Headhunter, this character is just really strong. And I genuinely believe that this is probably one of the best mappers that I've ever played on this game. And this will definitely on my radar if I want to league start it again. So with that said, let's just go through all the setup. The first one is the weapon, of course. This is like the triple T1 fist, and it has a very good draw already. And on the suffix, it's not quite perfect. The global crit multi with the crit chance if you haven't dealt crits recently is not bad, but I just hope for the attack speed and double damage. But I think this is more than good enough. And for the last craft, this is a bit odd because I'm not using the crit and attribute because we really do not need the crit anymore on this one. Because with 6 brittle, you're practically always going to crit. And in terms of Headhunter, you're also going to get above that, going to push your crit. I think without the Headhunter prof, you're already at 100%. So there's no reason to craft crit on your weapons. And then we can go for the double damage. And in this build, it's better to hit hard than to hit fast. Because the bigger your hits, the bigger your elemental element, the bigger brittle you're going to afflict, and the bigger scorch you're going to apply, and the bigger DPS you're going to have. So attack speed, something like that, is not really that big of a deal on this build because of that reason, because we are using Secret of Suffering. And for the helmet, I'm using Abyssus. This is like a huge amount of DPS, 125 milli crit multi. And you can use Volatile 4 orbs and try to achieve more crit multi from this, but that's probably for later. You can use Rare Helmet too if you want to, especially if you want to try fit in the Purity of Elements. You're definitely going to use a Rare Helmet where you can use a lot of mana reservation with loading and also the implicit mana reservations. You're definitely going to need them. But for me, I'm using Abyssus. The downside of this helmet, of course, you're going to be a lot vulnerable against physical damage taken. We mitigate that with the block. We have basically cap block on the attack. And the spell is conditionally capped with the Guardian and also with Bunch of Trigger, for example. So there's a bunch of conditional, like this one give additional 5, that 10% spell block because of the keystone over here, right? You get 2 chance block spell per 1 offer cap attack block and all that stuff. And there's also Guardian whenever you cast, like if we cast something like this, we get like another extra 10 spell block. So it's a conditional, but we do able to reach the 65% spell block cap. And we also have the physical damage taken as fire on the armor is it's basically shifting a little bit damage from the physical, so it's helping a little bit. And for the body armor, I'm using rare. You can go for influence for like the minus mana cost. That's going to make your life a little bit easier because you don't have to care about mana. But for this one, I'm going for the rare one. So basically just using Essence of Loading just to get the mana reservation and get the physical damage reductions. That's also going to counter the downside of the Abysses. If you want to go for the influence chest, you have to drop the physical damage reduction because you will need the mana reservations. So that's one downside of the influence chest. And also with influence chest, you're probably not going to be able to get like a lot of armor. And for the Reliquarians, because of the Brushstone, we double the armor we get from armors. So I decided to go for the red chest because of that too. And for the ring is the same taming. This is basically the best in slot. And the same with yoke. This is also the best in slot. The role that are really important is of course the enemy take 10% increased damage per each type of element. But you're also going to need the fire, cold, and lightning resistance to be a decent amount, especially the lightning resistance. The cold is not so much, but the lightning resistance you definitely need a high roll on there. And then for the belt Headhunter, this is just the best belt for mapping. I don't think there's anything you can replace it with. And then this one is the conversion glove. We have the conversion to fire, and this is because when I do it on the POP, when I convert to cold, it's a little bit unbalanced for the Trinity. So putting everything on fire kind of make the cold damage and the fire damage about roughly equal. And the reason for that one, because we are using Hater. Hater already give you a lot of extra cold damage, and also pair them with the Watcher Eye, which have the 40% physical damage convert to cold. You end up having quite a lot of cold damage, and that's the reason why we're using fire conversion on the glove. And for the boots, and this is just a shock avoidant boots with chaos resistance. I think we are like around 40-15%. Yeah, 40%. This is good enough for mapping. And if you want to cap your chaos resistance, you can use Light of Meaning over here with chaos resistance, but you're going to lose life and DPS. And for the flask, of course, tincture. This is a big part of the DPS. For examples like in Breach, there's a Breach boss. You press this, the Breach boss is going to melt down really, really fast. And alright, and this is, you not actually need this one. And I think you can use something like this with Basalt. You get more armor, and this one also reduced effect of curses. That's also pretty good for like defense and offense. Like curses in maps, you have like temp chain going to slow you down, and vulnerability going to make you take more physical damage, which is quite dangerous with Abysses. So you can use something like Basalt. I don't think you really need Orets, and I just trying it out. And this kind of feels like overkill, so we definitely can go for like Basalt. And for the passivity, this is what the passivity looks like at the end. And I'm level at 98, so there's a 2 passive point, which is going to go to the +1 max stress here and the 25 multi here. This is the last 2 point, and everything else is basically almost the same with the POB. I tried bunches of other setup, but this is still the best setup that I found so far. And of course, there's a few things you can do with, for example, like Transcend the Flash. You can go for that. There's some corruption here and there. Like for example, reduction of curse corruption is pretty good. And then effect of damaging element corruption also pretty good. Reservation corruption also pretty good. You can go for that too. And Ascendancy is also the same exactly, right? This is Terminus Ash, this is Brassdome, and we take the Wild Bear on the Osabi Ascendancy. And also take these Asset Frozen Storms. The most important part here is the effect of non-damaging element. This is going to make you easier to hit like the 6 Brittle, 30 Scorch, and the Dreamer. We actually need it for the reduced mana cost and the mana regeneration. So if you're using the Influence Chest with the minus mana cost, you probably do not need this node. And also the same thing with this Mastery. I'm taking skill cost life instead of 50% mana cost. This is also to reduce mana cost. The Cyclone right now at 6 mana. And 6 mana feels really, really good. I don't really have a problem with mana, but if you go for the Influence Chest with the minus mana cost, you're not going to need this Mastery, you're not going to need this node. And this node over here, this gives a little bit extra damage, but also give you elemental resistance. In the Headhunter versions, we definitely need some more elemental resistance. Like, I'm not capped without my flaws. And the reason why I'm brave enough to go with uncapped like this, because when my flash is up, I have more elemental resistance that I need. And in mapping, most of the time you're going to have them. And with Headhunter also going to help you with that. So I don't think it's that big of a deal for me to not cap without flash. And then I think that's about it for the passive tree. There's nothing much change. It's still pretty much the same with my plan before the league start. There's just few changes on like the gem. Now we're using a Void Shockwave because this is a new one. And The other one is probably Cyclone. If you can find a Cyclone with infused channeling, and this is the reason why you don't see infused channeling on my gem, because I get the support by level 1 infused channeling. And the reason why this is good, because infused channeling already give you 12% damage reductions. The quality basically only give you 2%. And that 12% DR, you already get them since level 1. So when the level increase, it's only a matter of like getting the increased damage. And we're not using infused channeling for the damage. We use infused channeling for the damage reduction. So using level 1 infused channeling basically going to give you another socket, which in my case I'm using with melee physical damage and also with inspiration support. Inspiration support also going to help with reducing the mana cost and also give you some crit chance and some more elemental damage. This build need a lot more multiplier damage. One thing is probably on this node over here. This cluster is for AoE, so this one, and this one. And the mastery is monster cannot block because there is a mod that make monster in your map can block your attack. And this mastery basically just to cancel that one out. And the reason why that is important because that mod gives you more currency. And some of you probably going to ask like why not go for this road over here? Because if you take this node, your Cyclone actually have a bigger AoE, but only your Cyclone, not everything else's. So this one gives you 0.1 meter for the melee strike range, and in Cyclone that translates into AoE. This one only gives benefit to Cyclone, while on this one, because this gives increased AoE, this is going to avoid your Void Shockwave, and that's also going to affect your Volcanic Fissure. And this node is really, really important for mapping. This is going to make your mapping a lot better. So with that said, if you guys have any questions, just leave in the comment below. I will try my best to answer it. And thank you everyone for watching. I really, really appreciate it. And I will see you on the next one.